we introduce Pawan or Suman.
So I think, firstly, when you suggested that I do this, I must confess I was very surprised. I've never ever done anything like this before. But given that you must try everything at least once, I said sounds fun. I like food. This sounds like a really good opportunity, and so all in, so to say. Having seen the entries though over the last couple of weeks, I must say that I'm truly impressed by a
Wow.
couple of things. One, by the range of things that people are thinking about and doing, and particularly in these kind of times where everything is constrained, to have this kind of vision at this kind of time, I think speaks volumes for the home chefs who have taken part in this. And this was really across the board. The second thing I found really interesting is a lot of people had commented in their bio that they were planning to do various other things till the pandemic struck. They were going to do jobs, they were going to do alternate careers, they were planning, things to happen in a certain way. And of course, the pandemic has changed many of those plans. But almost everybody seems to have converted what was adversity into opportunity, and I loved that idea. And then the third thing, of course, is it just comes back to the fact that it's just such fun to look at food and food pictures and menus and think about, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me try that. And this is I've bookmarked a couple of those saying must order, must try. I think the fundamentals of running a brand or a business, whether you're running it for your locality or the country or the globe, actually stay, to my mind at least, very consistent. The first thing I think, and this was even struck me as I was going through these entries, is you've got to be clear what your core is. That what is the reason for people to come to you as a home chef? And that could be any number of things, right? It could be a specialty dish, for example. And I grew up in Bangalore, and Corner House hot chocolate fudge has like a central place in my life. And
Yes.
it's one of those things that you can go anywhere in the world, but to my mind, I don't think there is a better hot chocolate fudge, and that is their calling card. They do lots of other stuff as well, but the calling card remains the same. And I think that becomes quite important for home chefs, which is, it's fantastic to be experimentative and fantastic to have range, but you do need to have something that is your core, a type of cuisine, a particular dish, a style of cooking, any of those kind of things that says to people, okay, if I want this, then I go to this particular home chef. So I think that was one of my thoughts, Kalyana. I had a couple of others. The other one was really, I think as with all brands, actually, packaging matters. And I think in this case as well on food, the visual appeal of the food really important. So if I had one piece of advice and I was allowed to offer only one, my advice would be to invest in photography, because making the
Yes.
food look really enticing, I think you've won half the battle in terms of getting consumers to think that they want it. And it's true of brands that we run, it's true of home chefs. And getting better at that part, I think, is really the second thing that struck me as I was looking through those entries, because that quality did vary between the people who did it well versus the people who did it perhaps less well. And maybe there's an opportunity actually for all of us to learn in that space. The thing is, what is great as a home chef is that it allows you to have a relationship with your consumers, unlike some of these larger brands. And there's nothing wrong with large brands, I like
Yeah,
them
of course.
personally. But I just think that when you're a home chef and you're catering to a given audience, and a lot of them tend to be repeat consumers because they like what you do, and perhaps a relationship with them, which is a little bit two-way and more dialogue, I think becomes the third thing that really struck me, saying that you have an Instagram page, that's great, but then you must be able to respond to queries and comments, and make things a little bit more about dialogue than a one-way communication street of here's my menu for the week, which is great. But I think it does add a little bit if the person who's eating your food has the opportunity to comment. And of all of the home chefs I've tried over the last little while, some people again are very good at this, the follow up on what did you think, and how could we be better, or what did you love, and what would you like to share. And some are like, okay, I've delivered the order, I'm done. Actually, I have
In
an
fact,
interesting story there. We
yeah,
had
please,
ordered
please go
food.
ahead.
Yeah, we had ordered food last night from one of the restaurants, and my husband looked at the packaging and goes, I'm sure this doesn't taste nice. As it turned out, the food was really good, but because it came in rather average packaging, the feeling was that it wasn't either hygienic or it wouldn't taste nice. And it took quite some convincing to get him to try it before that decision was passed. So you're absolutely right. It makes in the full chain, it makes a difference from getting somebody to place the order to getting somebody to see the food as it arrives and think delicious, and then you've won half the battle, right? The first one is, be careful as you choose your name. I think is the first start, because it should be easy for people to understand and easy these days for people to spell.
Yes.
Because if you don't get that right, then you don't even, like, for example, searching for some people on Instagram takes quite some effort because you've got the spelling slightly off because the word was complicated. And I do think that that's maybe the first and the fundamental thing, that you think slightly long term and then choose a branding that's a name that's easy, that's memorable, that can be owned by you. And I think those are perhaps the three criteria that I would take to look at in that. The second is your menu. And it just goes back to the fact that it must speak to who you are. And a lot of the home chefs in their bios talked about cooking from the heart and cooking with love, and the fact that these are, family recipes that have been handed down, and, various things that do set apart home chefs from the bigger restaurant brands. And I think there's an opportunity to maybe just channel that into the menu, into the way you name your dishes, into the way you describe your dishes, and to the way you photograph your dishes. There were some really evocative things that were done with that. And I think the third part is just think through the kind of consumer that you serve and the target audience and your pricing, just in terms of who's going to buy your food, and therefore make sure that the food, the packaging, the branding kind of fits with that. For example, just as if you're talking about this whole, sustainable, I use only local produce, I'm organic,
Yes.
and then it comes in mountains of plastic, it just doesn't seem to gel. So maybe, the end-to-end thinking just helps them to say, okay, how will I make sure that my packaging reflects my as well? So those would be my, top of mind thoughts. That comes then in saying, for example, if you're doing Kashmiri cuisine in Mumbai, maybe it's not as prevalent as Kashmiri cuisine in Kashmir, right? And to your point on the lady doing the Malayali food in Mumbai or the Bong food in Chennai, I think you then find a niche where you cook something that is maybe integral to you, but for the people whom you serve, it's quite different and it's quite unique, and it's not necessarily easily accessible, because even in Mumbai, I was just thinking as you were talking about the Malayali food, that there aren't actually that many even large restaurants that do good Malayali food, and that would be a fabulous niche, right? The first one becomes authenticity. And I think that's as critical for large brands as small brands. And the thing is that all of us now are bombarded by so much information. We all have a filter that separates out what we think is crap from what we think is true. And the home chefs have a real opportunity, because it is true, right? Most of them, it is their story of that individual or that family. I think that's the first absolute thing to leverage. I think the second thing to leverage is provenance. And where your dish comes from, what is the source of what you are cooking, and again, to go back to the Kashmiri or the Malayali, the spices are different.
Yes.
You can buy the store-bought thing and replicate it, but it somehow doesn't have the same feel as if you have the right provenance on the dishes. And the third thing, which I must tell you, that is becoming more and more important to me, is this whole idea of health, and the fact that this food is not mass produced, and it's actually made on a small scale, and made usually, I hope, therefore fresher, therefore, less oil, less preservatives, less of all of the baddies. I think that becomes the third stage, that you trust more that home chefs will be able to do that. And therefore, to the comment on, safety and hygiene becoming table stakes, with that table stakes, the fact that you can serve healthy, tasty food, the absolute holy grail of everything food in the world, I think that becomes a third thing that home chefs could really leverage. Actually, I think the kids are perhaps one of the biggest drivers of this, at least in our house, they certainly are. Firstly, because they're just exposed to so much media, and
Yeah.
secondly, because they have friends and they go to their friends' homes, or at least pre-pandemic, they used to go
Yes.
to their friends' home and they read something there, and then it will be, oh, I have this most amazing things in so and so's house, and there's almost an implied, so when are we going to try it? And I think through the pandemic, certainly there's also been an interest in can they help, because they're also finding, avenues of entertainment has been shrunk. And so coming into the kitchen and trying out things is also one more avenue of entertainment for them. And that then adds to more. That usually tends to have chocolate at its heart. But at least with that, there is stuff that's happening that's in and around the chocolate world that they are now.
Yeah,
focused
baking,
on.
yes.
Yeah, that I think that is becoming quite a thing. That and bread is quite a thing.
Sourdough.
And I think that they're also a lot more savvy. I mean, I must confess that as I was growing up, I would not have known, anything from anything. You ate pretty much what was put in front of you. But here they have preferences and they have knowledge as well. So I think it's certainly an empty space. Like particularly the teenage years where you're trying to balance various changes that are happening to you, and you want to still look good and you want to eat well and you want it to taste good. I think there's definitely an opportunity there.
And they understand social media. So, I mean, that's a great thing.
I think the one obvious one, Kalyan, obviously is hygiene. And it really, I cannot stress this enough, that the concern, and I'm sure everybody went through this thing of, washing their vessels and washing, their fruit and veg, and washing every single packet that came to their house phase. And while we maybe got a bit overdoing that, the base concern on hygiene has definitely elevated. So I think, like with all big brands, your home chefs first need to reassure on the fact that their processes, the way they make, the way they store, the way they pack, all of that is really hygienic. That's one thing. I think the second thing is that people are a little bit bored. And it's really, it's a little bit of, if you're working from home particularly, it's a little bit of every day is blurring into the next day of thing. And therefore, a real opportunity, I think, to just provide even a little element of surprise. Like, for example, like you said, you added that red chutney on top of this. It's just a little element of surprise that just, zings up a dish. And I think it's a really nice space. Again, it's not perhaps that hard to do, but it's really interesting. And those would be, I think, the two big things on my mind. Kalyan, I used to work in skincare and makeup, and absolutely and utterly fell in love with Instagram. Instagram is a place, I think, where people actually want brands to talk about themselves. Whether they are small brands or big brands, you don't feel offended when a brand is on Instagram in the middle of your feed, unlike everywhere else where they are an interruption. And I think it's a great place for people actually to curate their offering, because if I like somebody on Instagram, you likely go back to their feed and see all of the stuff that they have done. And it's a really good opportunity, firstly, for it to look nice, and secondly, to talk about all the things that matter to you. And then just keep reinforcing that again and again over a period of time, because you will get more and more consumers and things keep disappearing down lower and lower. And just, almost have a repeat again kind of thing. Like the big brands that get built say the same thing again and again consistently over a period of time. And that's how they get built. And I think that's great advice for home chefs as well. And I fundamentally actually think Instagram is a great place.